Hello, this is Barbara Sanders, and I am talking on what's today, the 4th of September, which is my sister's birthday, and she died a year and a half ago. So I am memorializing her today. This is Sacred Metamorphoses. It is a YouTube channel. It's new to me and new to the world. If you look for it, it's a pink nebula, actually, that you can find on YouTube to find it for yourself. I have wanted to just talk with myself for a few minutes. I've been interviewing a couple of people recently on this YouTube channel, and they have inspired me. They are Vicky Spray in Florida, a spiritual counselor, and Mindy McNulty, who is a all-around wonderful person, and she does internal family systems work and integration work. And just talking with them has inspired me so much. And so I also, besides this channel, I'm starting a new community or two, one here in Nashville called the Nashville Peace Healing Community. And and here's my dog barking. That's funny. They see reflections in windows and they start barking. Anyway, what I'll do. Hold on just a second. They also are moved by the spirit and ghosts. Hey, 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 y'all need to be quiet. Well, it's an interesting way to start. What I wanted to do, though, a friend of mine asked me, what is a peace healing community? And I looked at her and said, well, I don't know. That title, that label came to me as I've been pondering the last year and a half about my life. And I do feel like this is what my entire life has been leading to, which is very exciting for me. I have been a psychotherapist for over 30 years. Before that, I worked in psychiatric hospitals. Can you say the word anymore? Psychiatric hospitals, doing middle management and admissions, and worked in juvenile court and in family service agencies like Oasis Center here in Nashville, doing family therapy and supervising the runaway shelter. Anyway, I have a long resume, which is part of why I'm here today. I've worked really hard in my life. When I think about it, I worked as a student in school hard and enjoyed learning, have always been enthusiastic and enjoyed learning, and was brought up with what I called a puritanical work ethic, which I think our culture and our patriarchy here in America, United States, has had around for quite some time, if not the world. Parts of the world have not. But I grew up in a culture where my parents, who recently died in their 90s, grew up with my father being a Marine pilot in 2 world wars, Korean and World War II, and my mother being, most people would say, the most wonderful woman in the world. She was a hard act to follow. I remember finding out once as a young adult that a friend of hers told me some mistakes she had made, and I said, I'm so glad she makes mistakes, because she was a hard role model to follow. And of course, since I've grown up and embraced, hopefully, many of my parts inside, I did treasure her, but also we had conflicts certainly growing up. We were very different people. And why am I telling my history? I'm here to talk about peace healing, but that is partly about my history. My dad then, after being a Marine pilot, did some other things. He was a dance band musician, sax player, woodwind player, and dance bands in Atlanta, Georgia. And then he got the call to join the ministry in the Episcopal Church. Well, he had 3 kids, a wife. People helped fund us going to Virginia Seminary. I was about 3 years old at the time. So my brother and sister were older than me, and they went off to school, and I had more time alone. And then they left in high school to go off to college, and I had more time alone. But it seemed like I was always part of this nuclear family, which I was. And we moved around a lot as I was a preacher's kid, and he got called to different churches around the Deep South. So I grew up in the 1960s in Mississippi and Alabama. I laugh when I say that. I loved growing up in Mississippi, actually. It was during the civil rights movement. I was not as aware as I became much later about all that, but my parents were activists in Mississippi in the 1960s. They were helping African American people get out of jails. They were helping register people to vote. And my claim to fame is that once, at least to my knowledge, just once, and one of the places we lived in Greenville, Mississippi, which is in the heart of the Mississippi Delta near the Mississippi River, which means a lot to me these days still. There was a letter and a cross burning in our yard, in front yard. The Ku Klux Klan, which was the white nationalist something society, wrote a letter to my dad trying to chase him out of town and our family out of town. And I only heard about that later because my mother, as a good church lady and woman that she was, cleaned up the cross burning and the paper, but she did keep the paper, the letter. So why am I saying all this? I am grounded in activism. I'm grounded in, for the most part, Christianity was the culture I grew up in, but Episcopalian, low church, liberal, progressive family in the middle of Mississippi. We then moved to Mobile, Alabama, which I thought was far more conservative than I felt like the surroundings were in Mississippi. The Delta Democrat Times and what's his name, Harding Carter, and all those people were around in Mississippi when I was growing up there. And that was a very liberal, condensed group of people who did some really good things in the world. So then we moved to Mobile, Alabama, and then I went to Sewanee to college. And I was going to say that continued my activism, but it didn't. It continued the more conservative environment of allowing for eccentricity within a community of individuals. And now I'm looping back. So I came to Nashville, Tennessee to get some more education in graduate school and did all those other things. Sewanee was wonderful for me, by the way. I played hard and worked hard and grew up. I grew up some there, a lot. And it was good for me to get away from home, as I think it's good for many children to do, and to find our own ways of being separate from our parents, still holding the values that I grew up with, I'm very sure, and continued. I didn't get married till late in life. I got married at 38 to the most wonderful man that I'm married to now. We've been married almost 34 years, maybe, something like that. And we had a child late in life, and he's the most wonderful person I know, along with his dad. All of this to say, the Nashville Peace Healing Community came to me in meditation. I worked really hard, as I said, and my mother got sick and moved to town after many years in her 90s. And her last year of life, it was very stressful for me. She had had a major stroke in her PCA. And she was living about a mile away and in independent living for 8 years or 9 years, and then had to go to the nursing home section, which was very stressful. I was still working. And my child had already grown up. But I realized, partly because of the generosity of my parents, that I needed to take a moment to stop. I've always been busy. I've always been, as I say, hardworking, but not just that, enthusiastic and ecstatic in some ways about life. Anxious, an anxious person in life. Thought I covered it well, but I didn't. So I throughout my years have found, from yoga and other things in college to all sorts of alternative practices, particularly to psychotherapy, which is what I practiced, and my husband's a psychoanalyst and psychotherapist. But I ventured out into breath work way back in the 80s, late 80s, and body work at the same time, and all sorts of, in the past few years, creative arts. Art and Soul in Nashville is a wonderful nonprofit that I attended some classes in and groups in the 90s and earlier. earlier. Wonderful spiritual people who use creativity to help us meditate and to connect with the divine. So that's part of how I started my journey into my current experience with working as a devotee of the divine and humans. So I needed to retire after my mother died. I needed and wanted to. It never occurred to me that I would retire. I never thought consciously about retiring, just thought I'd keep working, and was able to, again, through my parents' generosity, take some time away from work, which has been about a year and a half now, to just be still. This is my mantra that you will hear me say many times, but be still, stop, be still, relax, and then breathe. And listen, listen, listen. That is my mantra. And once I started doing that, only about a year and a half ago, after being in all sorts of groups and communities, only when I started to stop, be still, and experience what came in from all the energies around us and inside us and above us, below us. Only then could I really hear not only myself think and feel better, which took a lot of internal work, and I've of course done therapy most of my life off and on to deal with certain situations and problems and issues, but only when I retired could I stop enough and be still and be in nature and be part-time. We are in Florida these days and part-time in Nashville, and I was able to go down to Florida 6 months out of the last year and sit on a deck on the water with penguins and seagulls and osprey. It feels like I'm gonna cry now. Flying by and perching and eating the fish that the osprey picked out of the water in the canal that we live on right near the Appalachee Bay, which enters the Gulf of Mexico. And it has been the most glorious time for me. Wow. I didn't plan to do this. I didn't plan to tell all that history. I didn't plan to do that, but it helps you understand where I got here today. So the Peace Healing Community, along with this Sacred Metamorphoses channel on YouTube, came to me in the last 6 months. Sacred Metamorphoses came to me about a year and a half ago when I started a website, which is sacredmetamorphoses.com. Excuse me. And you can go there and you'll hear all these things that I had planned to say today, so you can go read them there. But I termed my sort of mission, ministry, calling in life after retirement as Sacred Metamorphoses, because I've gone through my own. And I think we all go through transformation throughout life. And when I've worked with this spiritual counselor, Vicky Spray, in the last year, I've realized there are moments, just moments, if you look back in your history, the human history in this lifetime, there are moments that the divine guided me, or spirit guided me in certain ways that I wasn't really directing. I always was big on control in life since I was an anxious person, having moved around a lot in life and entering new schools over and over again. So I learned more to listen and trust and notice what the intuition inside me, or the spirit inside and outside of me, the divine, is saying and speaking. And that's what I hope to bring to the world, to other people. And there's so much that is connected to this. I'll say one more thing about history, my history. So the pandemic was really good for me because that did slow me down. I hate to say it was good for me because so many people got sick and died, my sister included. She had some health issues, but long-term COVID, and her death in surgery, I think, was due to that long-term COVID, throwing a blood clot soon after my mother died of her second stroke. So it was all really scrambled up in there. In 2022 and 2023, I went through a lot of grief and dealing with logistics and organization and being power of attorney and executor of my mother's estate and all that stuff. So that took me to a whole different place too. My dad died in 2013, which was very sad. And at 91, his body was ready to go. And I used to say, they're still here. I mean, they're still here. And part of what I'm doing on this channel and in my peace healing communities is wanting to share my theology, which has been shaped not only by the Episcopal Church way back in time, but by the I Ching in the last 20, 30 years. I love the I Ching. I often look at it daily, and sort of like a Bible that I never learned about when I was growing up. I never learned about the Bible a whole lot, children's Bible stories, but I'm not a scripture or scholarly person in terms of religion. I've reconnected on Facebook with a former religion professor of mine who taught me comparative religions, Gerald Smith, who's at Solani, and it just cheers me up I remember thinking, what do I want to major in? Comparative religions or English. And so I became an English major, and it's okay. I'm a writer and I love to write creatively and in other ways. But religion, spirituality has always been a part of me, but not in organized religion form after I grew up to be an adult, until I had a baby. And then we had to go to church to baptize the baby, of course, and on and on. I also went to church at St. Augustine's Vanderbilt campus with Becca Stevens and Scott Owings and Lissa Smith and some other fabulous people in that congregation, Khaki Fell, Margaret Norris, all these amazing progressive liberal people and others who believe in, like I did in the churches I grew up in social action. My dad was a Christian educator and always made Christian education come down to the daily practice of what, like Kamala Harris is saying these days. No, Michelle Obama is saying these days, do something, do something. And Kamala Harris is going to carry that out. And I've been very politically minded in much of my life and an activist there too. I'm not going to talk about that as much here, but that certainly informed and inspired me to want to make changes in the world, which starts with, I believe, changes in oneself. I don't think we can change the world until we really look within and do our own work, healing work, whether it's in therapy or breath work or body work or yoga or sound healing. I love sound healing practices, journey meditation retreats that I've been participating in for 6 years, group retreats, which has completely changed my life in terms of the community as well as the healing meditation retreats there. But again, only until the last year and a half or so did I really start the meditation practice of listening more than calming myself down or spacing out to, let some of the stress of life go. I lived a lot with stress because of my internal electricity, I think. And I will say a few more thank yous to Jenna Longmire, who is a priestess at she's got a mystery school here in Nashville, Jenna Longmire, and then Tammy Roth, who does so many wonderful things. Tammy is a favorite of mine. I've gone on many women's retreats with her, and she introduced me through groups to the quantum world, along with Vicky Metzger, who's also interested in the quantum world and the quantum field. And I've been practicing in groups and retreats during the last 3 or 4 years in those directions. So I've had some real internal and intense and beautiful experiences with community in groups while we're all dealing with ourselves and our connection to the divine individually as well as collectively. I also participated in a mystery school with Rebecca Campbell for a year, who you can look her up. She's a very famous, wonderful, again, mystic who is just fabulous. I learned a lot from her work. And so let me say a little bit more about the Nashville Peace Healing Community, and I hope to offer it in the forgotten coast of Florida. So that's where we bought a place Tammy Roth is down there. There are people in Apalachicola and St. George Island that I have met, and Crawfordville, Florida, and Tallahassee, Florida. All of these lovely, spiritual, wonderful people who, we're not talking organized religion again. We're talking about deep healing within and listening to spirit. So when my friend said, "What is the Peace Healing Community?" I thought, well, I don't know yet. And I don't, but I do know what I wanted to do. I'm a gatherer, and all my life I've gathered people together. And I'm like a little shepherd. I'm a gatherer. And I love bringing people together because the energy is just incredible with all these people I know from different parts of my life. Bring them together and it's like magic. It is magic. It is energy healing. It's all sorts of things in community for me. So I can see in the Nashville Peace Healing Community a collection of souls in human bodies. I do know that. It will be a community of souls in human bodies. Those people who want to connect individually, internally, and again, with some sort of divine presence of some sort, and it may be nothing religious whatsoever. You don't have to be a religious person or spiritual person to come to these Nashville Peace Healing Community gatherings. And I'll tell you more about the details of that in a minute. But I could see a collection of people coming together. And my first thought was to just have silent meditation, sort of like the Quakers do, just to bring together people sometime during a weekday and have silent meditation. We would connect energetically and personally in person. And we would go out into the world, back out into the world. And many of my meditation journeys have been like that in terms of when we have mystical or transformational experiences, how do we connect that back into our bodies and into our mundane, not just mundane, but daily worlds as a practice. It's not just mindfulness, but it is mindfulness, loving kindness meditations. I will say there are so many kinds of meditations you've all heard about and probably practiced. I can imagine we come together and listen. So I'll be saying some words at these Nashville Peace Healing Community gatherings, which we'll be doing. I'll give you the details now. I'm going to do this at the Second Presbyterian Church at nearby my house and off Belmont Boulevard. It's 3511 Belmont Boulevard. We will be meeting from September 12th weekly until November 21st on Thursdays from 4:30 p.m. until 5:45 p.m. And I plan for that last 10 or 15 minutes to be sort of a social time for people to come out of their meditations and be able to connect with each other with words, hugs, whatever we want to do with that, so that we're not just scooting in and out in this busy traffic time of Nashville, which I regret, but it's the time I got. And some people can't come, I know, because they're working. But anyway, so that's what my idea is. I will probably do some vibrational stuff. I have said in my invitation to people that we will be entering the quantum field and see what energies emerge, which is very exciting for me. I have guided meditations in groups for many years now, and I'll probably do some guided meditations. That's some people's cup of tea. That's not everybody's cup of tea. I won't say who, but she once gave me feedback. I don't do that guided stuff. And my husband, actually, he doesn't like guided meditations much either, but all meditation can really be, you can tune out whatever the guide's saying and really travel inside and explore your own depths and also find some sort of spiritual guides, energies of some sort, and connect with them. Help yourself know how they support you every day of your life, every moment of your life. We're not always conscious, of course, of that support. And so that's part of my theology is, I don't know that there's one God or many gods or goddesses. I think it's very personal and unique to the individual, what they believe in. And so this is a community of people accepting all sorts of types of people, open to the community. It will be a free service this fall. I'm not sure that will always be true, but it will be free service, though I'll accept donations for rent for the church. And it's a time to come together. So what else do I want to say about that? Let me look at my notes for a second. I hope you'll join us if you're so moved and can. And it's not, oh, by the way, these gatherings, there's no commitment. Again, no dues, no necessary times to be there together. You can come and go. You can come if you want. You don't have to come if you want. Skip a week or two, or you can attend all of them, whatever you want to do. This is totally voluntary. Everything we do in these gatherings will be voluntary. I believe strongly in that. There's nothing mandatory about it, except if you want to show up in person and be quiet for the most part until we get to the point of sharing words and experiences with each other, which I hope to do even in this church sanctuary. It's set up so that we can talk with each other after having some meditational experiences. And people can share if they want to, and they don't have to share if they don't want to. But to connect with each other visually, energy-wise, we may do a little bit of touch with ourselves, or movement, not dancing, but movement, bringing in the divine and going through the chakras. You don't have to know anything about that to be there, though. There are energy points in ourselves in human bodies that we can focus on, and mostly, and here's what's mostly primary, is to be bringing in healing energy toward our bodies, inside our human bodies, to any parts of us that have stress, tension, tightness, because that's how we get sick. We get sick anyway. We're human beings. So I'm not trying to change the nature of human beings, but if we're tense, I have arthritis in my hands, feet, and neck, and it doesn't usually bother me much, but I do have it. I'm getting older now. And we all have certain places. Used to be my gastrointestinal system that would get all churned up with the stress that I felt. That's relaxed a lot now with all sorts of methods that I've used. And my goal is peace within, which means to me also, but not to everyone, peace in action, peace within and peace in action, without still being, for myself, the doer, the busy doer that I've always been, which helped me manage my feelings of stress and conflict, but also helped me avoid them and distract from my feelings. So this whole journey in life is whatever you want it to be. I won't promise you what The Secret and other places and books have offered us, which is if you just believe something, it will be true. I do believe, though, we participate in creating our lives, creating our lifestyles, making choices all along the way, sometimes feeling stuck in ruts in our choices and like, this isn't working for me anymore. But it did in the past. My work, my psychotherapy work, I loved my work. Over 30 years, I loved it. Working with people individually, groups and couples, it fed me as well as I hope I helped them too. I loved that work. It's such intimate and very hard work, but in connecting with human beings and helping them grow and open up to themselves, perhaps forgive themselves for all the mistakes we've all made in life, or our circumstances, the traumas, neglect, or abuse we've been through. I loved that work, and I needed to step away from it for a time in order to feel, and first, less stress myself, find more peace within myself to become still someone who might bring and help others find peace inside their worlds, inside themselves, and sharing that with the world. I do believe Gandhi and all those people about nonviolence, as well as we are the change we want to see in the world. I want to say one other thing, though, in this motivational talk I seem to be giving to myself and hopefully to you. I got into oracle cards mostly through Tammy Roth and also through Rebecca Campbell in the Mystery School. There are so many kinds of oracle cards. That's ORACLE, oracle cards in this world. Look on Amazon, you find anything you want. I particularly love the Rumi card deck and the Kali card deck these days, and have been, I was telling my spiritual teacher the other day that being able to look at the oracle cards daily, mostly daily in my life in the last few years, has brought spirit to me more than I've been able to bring it to myself. By the way, I'll shout out another very important person in my life, Frank Castellano. Frank is in Nashville. Frank Castellano is a wonderful, generous psychic here in town and human being. It is so loving and sharing his knowledge, wisdom, and growth to us and through us throughout this town and other places. So I just need to mention Frank because not only crystals, but oracle cards, there are all sorts of things that we can do to bring in the spirit world, which is, again, I think, like our unconscious sort of most of life. And we're just human beings here living on it, on Mother Nature. Mother Nature for us is most of life. And we're here for a temporary time. And I am curious about and exploring being the best human being I can be, not just for others, which I grew up doing, pleasing people all my life, codependent, pleasing people, but for myself as well. And that's been a hard journey. And women will understand that, especially Southern women who were raised to give to others, be everything for others, for children, for husbands, for the world, be everything you can be for everybody else. And though we neglected or they neglected to train us to be good to ourselves first, because we cannot be continuously good for, what I mean is giving to others unless we give to ourselves as well, and or notice the gifts that are being rained upon us from the spirit world or the energies around us, the quantum field, wherever you'd like to go and whatever you call that spiritual realm or reality. It's a wonderful place to be. And I'll say one more thing. I could have gone the spiritual bypassing route. Some of you will know that term, but lots of people in my lifetime got into spirituality, New Age movement, stuff like that, which helped people start meditating and start doing yoga and doing all these wonderful things spiritually, and sometimes get disconnected from being human by being, and I could have flown out there. The spiritual, I could just be out there and love it. I could also be in the deep dark of Mother Earth, because Mother Earth to me, oh, good. I just checked to see if I was recording. I was never a preacher, but I thought, I don't really like talking like this, but it is recording. That's good, because I would have missed a lot. Anyway, I love to be in the deep dark. In the cave, one of my favorite experiences is in a cave, meditationally, imaginatively, and creatively, with a black panther, with a little stream of water, a river through the cave. Mother Earth, a deep, dark, fertile soil, I think I really retreated to for many years. Again, to soothe myself, almost like a womb. Again, imaginatively, I was not in a cave in the dirt. But anyway, I'm coming out of that, not just need, but desire to be staying in the darkness in the womb for the first time in my life, I think, probably. I mean, I've always been out there in the marketplace, always been out there in the world. Seem like an extrovert to many people, but I really love my time alone and help nurture myself by being alone a lot. Anyway, we're all very different and unique. So what am I saying? Let me look at my notes one more time. I'm saying that I'm enjoying talking, and I hope that you'll join me, not necessarily to be part of an organized group called the Nashville Peace Healing Community or the Forgotten Coast Peace Healing Community, if I do start one down there, which I have not begun yet. And we can perhaps do some Zoom stuff too, but I see this as an in-person enrichment time for people of all sorts, varieties of races, colors, creeds, genders, all sorts of people to come together and touch each other, at least energetically, and know that we are all loved. And I do believe that. And that even those, especially political leaders that I can get angry at, even those people are human and have their own traumas that they're suffering and acting out, as we all act out in the world. And though I may feel great rage at how they dehumanize and disregard human well-being in their policies and procedures and politics. A part of me has to know they are doing perhaps the best they can, probably not, but doing the best they can. They've got their own personalities. They grew up with what we do not know, because we all have our individual traumas, neglects, and abuses. And people are at different stages of life developmentally. I do believe that. I don't think of it as a hierarchy as much as we're all here. If you believe in past lives and future lives and the energy and spirit around us, it's an eternal kind of thing. And so I take this lifetime very seriously, though I also want to have fun, and I do have fun. And part of my whole spiritual journey has been in order to seek and find ecstasy and joy in the normal everyday activities of walking my dogs down a neighborhood street of concrete or asphalt and seeing the birds and being with the trees and even the chiggers, which I do hate. They're part of Mother Nature too, and have their purpose and role. I like to be away from them or get protected from them. I won't talk about chiggers very much, but they are one pain in my ass. And we all have them. We all have things that bother us and it ignite our passion, good and bad. And so it all belongs, as family constellations people will say, Jenna Longmire, Tammy Roth, and all the people I know who are trained in family constellations, it all belongs. And internal family systems people, we are full of parts, different parts of ourselves, often in conflict with each other, these different parts and their processes, which I think are beautiful and wonderful, and that I practiced in my therapy work all these years, to really look at our parts and to see, why is this judge sitting up here so angry at me and criticizing me? Where's the nurturing mother, the spirit mother that loves me unconditionally? Love is conditional as human beings, and we seek more of that unconditional love so that we can share it with others. And I think, though, there's so much more to say. I didn't know I'd talk this long, and I just want to thank you for listening. And feel free to share this YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel, Sacred Metamorphoses, or go to my website, sacredmetamorphoses, plural.com. And if you want to join us in the Nashville Peace Healing Community, we'll be meeting all fall, mostly every week except for Halloween, October 31st. 4:30 to 5:45 at the Second Presbyterian Church here in the zip code 37215. And thank you for listening again. And I look forward to interviewing more people, conversing with them. If you're interested in being interviewed and think you have something you want to share in this whole realm, let me know. You can contact me at Barbara Grace. That's BARBARAGRACE period 2023 at gmail.com. That's Barbara Grace period 2023 at gmail.com. Many blessings to you always.